Hello, I'm the Programming Dunce, and in this series, I'll be talking about the Anagame project I've been working on since 2015. In this video, I'll be talking about the various libraries and intended applications that are a part of Anagame, as well as provide a walkthrough on how to clone and compile Anagame. I'll even go through the process of making a pull request so that you would be able to contribute to the project yourself. As of this video, there are 5 major libraries in Anagame, 4 of which are needed for an Anagame application. The bottommost library is the TrekLib library. This library holds all of the basic classes and modules used throughout Anagame. For instance, tfile is the dedicated file class, tstring is Anagame's dedicated string class, object is the root class. The TrekLib library also provides modules for browsing the file system using the directory interface and tfile shell, holding collections such as the tdata array, and node management using the tObject node. It even provides the Trek pointer, which is Anagame's dedicated smart pointer. Knowing how to work with Trek pointers when developing Anagame is so important that it is even the topic of the next video. Anagame in Windows uses DirectX to perform drawing and uses the Video Graphics library to wrap up DirectX resources into easy-to-use objects, with T-brushes and the drawing board wrapping up Direct2D, and T-Window Engine, T-Arena Engine, and the Arena model wrapping up Direct3D. Admittedly, it does not yet wrap anything from DirectWrite, even though Anagame uses that extensively as well. Video Graphics is currently the second lowest library. Above it is the Anaface library. Anaface holds various controls, and these controls draw themselves using the drawing board and T-brushes. Its central class is the T-control, from which all of the controls are derived. Anaface also has a dedicated parser and supplies specific animations that can be applied to specific T-controls. Above Anaface is the Tap library. This is the library that more or less wraps everything in the lower level libraries together. It provides Pages, which holds a series of controls, Handlers, which are attached to a page and responds to events generated by a T control. Windows are managed by the T instance, which a native application needs to create in order to be considered an Anagame application. Above that library is the Trek Code library. This library is not needed in every Anagame app. In fact, I would consider this library to be the least developed as of right now. Its purpose is to provide an abstract compiler that is intended to be flexible, meaning you could specify any language and have this compiler compile code written in that language. In order to compile and install Anagame, I recommend forking the repository into your own GitHub account and then cloning that. With the home directory as a starting point, I prefer to clone the project in the home source repos directory. Once you have cloned the repo, you should have a folder called Anagame. You'll then want to clone the Microsoft Direct Text library in the same folder you cloned the Anagame repo from. Before doing anything with the Anagame repo, you'll want to open the DirectX repo in Visual Studio. As of right now, I'm using the DirectX Text Desktop 2019 solution, although this may change, so do pay attention to the README of Anagame, as it will let you know which solution is currently being used. Also pay attention as to whether Visual Studio is set to x86 or x64. Right now, I'm just focusing on x86 support, but Visual Studio sometimes sets it to x64. Once that is set, build the DirectX text library. Once you do that, you should be able to build the Anagame project. There are supposed to be 3 major applications, but as of right now, there are 5. Anagame Builder is intended to be Anagame's dedicated IDE. Right now, the project is on hold as development with the Taps library's TIDE window class is being managed through the Animate Builder project. Once development in that project is completed, it will be merged into Anagame Builder. Anagame Central is currently where I test out new controls in the Anaface library. Eventually, I'd like to use it as a hub for Anagame content. Animate Central is deprecated. In fact, I might have even deleted that project by the time this video is uploaded. It basically was used to test interface controls when MFC was still a major part of the solution. Fun fact, when I first started working on Anagame, it relied on MFC for a lot of things. However, I eventually decided that MFC was holding Anagame back, and thus spent a few months in early 2019 removing MFC from the project. Another fun fact, when I first started working on this solution, I was going to call it Animate. However, I learned that Adobe planned on calling one of their programs Animate, so I felt like I had to change the name and settled on Anagame. Whether or not I had to change, I don't know, but that is why the solution file is called Animate rather than Anagame. The final application is WebTours. It is intended to be a web browser. However, I haven't worked on it since before the removal of MFC from the libraries, so currently, as of this video's upload date, it will not build. You should be able to build Anagame Builder, Anagame Central, or Animate Builder. Visual Studio will build all of the underlying libraries for you and provide a debug folder. Once this debug folder exists, you'll want to copy the languages and resources folder from the local repo into the debug folder. At that point, your built application should be able to run. I cannot write all of Anagame myself. Not the final product I dream about anyway. There are still major components I've barely begun to tackle, such as a video player, a decent 3D gaming engine, HTML parser and renderer, a socket library, encryption library, JavaScript parser. I'm just one guy. I cannot tackle all of that myself. That's why I'm reaching out. Many of you watching will be specialized in various fields I myself am not, or you might know a certain topic a lot better than I do. For instance, if you're familiar with Direct 3D, I can boost the documentation in the video graphics library, documentation about the camera and T arena control, and add any new controls needed to help view data about the models and camera. If you're familiar with HTML, I could boost documentation about the interface library as well as provide suggestions on how to fit it in the Anagame architecture. My next few videos in this series will go into detail on how Anagame currently works, starting with the trek pointer, and then focusing on the trek lib library and moving on upwards. Happy coding!